Welcome back. Today we have Arthur Colker from StayFi. Arthur, thank you for being here. Could you please introduce yourself and share the mission behind StayFi?
Hey everyone, my name is Arthur Colker, and I am the founder and CEO of StayFi. StayFi is a company that helps short-term rental operators of all size both collect more guest data, so emails, phone numbers, names from all the guests staying in your properties, in addition to helping you follow up with those guests with email and text marketing so that they know your brand and come back and book with you directly again and again. To date, StayFi works with over 100,000 short-term rental properties around the globe, and we have helped short-term rental operators collect over 8 million emails from their guests so that they can market to them directly and become less dependent on the big OTAs.
What is the initial action a property manager should take immediately after a booking is confirmed to lay the groundwork for a potential direct rebooking?
So it's really important from the first moment you start communicating with the booker and the reservation party that you start to communicate from a brand voice. Whether that brand is a big multi-unit property manager or an individual host owner, you want to start differentiating yourself that you're not a quote unquote Airbnb or Vrbo or Booking.com listing, that you're your own brand and identity. So just including that in your signatures, making sure you're communicating from that voice and starting to drop those hints during the entire process that, yes, well, this is a great place to book your first stay. If you want the best price and best experience for future stays, there is an opportunity to work with us directly, whether that's over email or via a website, right? So just making sure that you're being consistent there. And that extends from the pre-arrival communication, then when they're in the property, doing things to again reinforce that brand, whether it's simple things like fridge magnets in a digital guest guide. If you use a product like StayFi, where you can introduce your brand when the guest logs into the Wi-Fi, like on a splash page, is one of the products we offer. All of those little hints will work together so that during the course of both pre-arrival and during the stay, you start to transform the guest mindset so that when they come, they may think they're staying in an Airbnb, but by the time they leave, they should know that they're staying with your brand and that there are benefits to booking with your brand for future stays.
Does the strategy's impact change significantly? When comparing a property manager with one or two properties versus an operator managing 20 or more properties under the same brand?
I would say it can work for operators of all size. What I tell people to look at is to just see organically, historically, have they been getting the same people, book them multiple times through an OTA, or have guests organically reached out to them asking about booking again directly? If you see behaviors of repeat stays, I believe that putting a product in place like StayFi, which then automates that process to collect more guest data and reach out to the guests with email and text marketing, is going to be successful for you.
For property managers who do not use the specific platform being discussed, what is the estimated level of effort required to implement these direct rebooking strategies on their own?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely would be challenging. So there's kind of two main things that StayFi does that would be hard for someone to do on their own. The first one, especially, which is collect data not just from the booker, but from the entire reservation that you can use for email marketing. So getting that permission to then market to people via email. So with StayFi, we do that through the Wi-Fi. So when every guest joins the Wi-Fi for the first time, a splash page loads on their device, very similar to what you would have seen at a coffee shop, airport, hotel, where you introduce your brand and then collect their data and permission. There are great tools out there that maybe you can collect the email from the booker, but that's even harder now because services like Airbnb and other OTAs don't want you to collect email through those communications and kind of now forbid you in some cases from asking people for email through their messaging platforms as well as getting permission to do email marketing. So you need to be able to collect this information in a systematic way outside of the OTA, and doing that, especially for non-booking guests, can be very challenging. When it comes to email marketing, obviously there are a lot of great tools out there that people are using today. Very commonly things like MailChimp, Constant Contact, Campaign Monitor, or even a hotel CRM. I see some folks using like a Revenate. I'd say StayFi is the only email marketing tool that's specifically designed for vacation rental operators. So while you can send some nice looking templates and newsletters through all of these tools, we're the only ones that have templates built for specific use cases. So that would be even things like connecting to Tokeed or to a PMS and seeing all of your availability in your calendar and then building emails based on which properties are actually bookable along with their images and prices. So we, through this integration with Tokeed and other software, make it so much easier to send emails than you would find with any other email marketing tool.
Beyond the suggested 9-month follow-up, how effective is email marketing for generating repeat bookings at other times, such as during holiday periods or high season?
Yeah, I'd say one really good strategy is to actually open up your calendar for high season to just your email marketing list before you open it on OTAs. So we see a lot of operators do this where if, let's say, in the United States, July 4th, or maybe in another market, it's August in Greece, right? On some island. What you do is you email your list, letting them know, hey, we just opened the availability for our villas for August, but it's only available through the website. And you'll get the best price through the website. And then you open it on OTA. So you think of direct first to fill the high demand times of year, and then the OTAs can fill the rest of your calendar. So that direct first approach is going to maximize your ability to capture direct bookings. Also, the issue can be often with direct bookings is that if you're on the smaller side, often you don't have that much inventory left to sell. So that can be another thing is matching the demand because your email list might not be that big with the available supply. Obviously, if you're emailing about, hey, we just opened August, anyone that would come to your website interested in traveling in August is going to be able to find a property to book. Well, if maybe you're emailing about next month, but there's only 3 days left that are open at one property, the chances of it kind of aligning with the traveling intent of your audience is smaller. And that's why OTAs are great at filling those random holes in your calendar because you're reaching so many people. So opening your calendar first for direct can just be a great strategy to capture those bookings very far in advance from your favorite guests that you trust and have stayed with you before, and typically for longer periods of time when they're booking direct. And then obviously with no extra fees from OTAs for those bookings.
What role does email marketing play in the conversion funnel for guests who book directly through an existing source, such as a dedicated ad campaign or a partnership? And how can it be best leveraged for these direct bookings?
Yep. So I say what's really important is let's say you are running paid advertising on Google or on Instagram, or you do a paid partnership with a TikToker, whatever it is, it's going to be driving traffic to your website. Now, how can you maximize the value of that website traffic? It's to make sure that you have the opportunity to collect emails to follow up with them. Because if you're doing that type of partnership, especially with an influencer, a lot of people are going to come to your website just to check out the property, but they're not currently in the travel planning process, right? They're like, oh, this is a really cool home. Let me bookmark it. Let me check it out. But a lot of people, when they are going to be then traveling in the next 6 months, are going to forget about that they had this experience and found your property. Email is how you're going to maintain that connection. So having like a pop-up on your website where you do a give get, hey, sign up for our list, we'll send you a $50, next trip coupon or whatever it happens to be. Having that form on your website is going to maximize any traffic that you're buying through whatever partnership or promotion that goes to your website, and it will extend the value. So if you run this partnership and you collect 1,000 emails on your website, then you have that forever until they unsubscribe to email them on a monthly basis. And it's going to make it much more likely that they remember you when they actually are in a trip planning process.
What is your professional assessment of using SMS for the purposes of generating repeat bookings, both for guests originally sourced from OTAS and for those who book directly?
Yeah, SMS typically is going to have lower opt-in rates, but much higher engagement rates. So while an email may only get 30 on the low end, 20 to 30 to 40% open rates, it's going to be like kind of a wide range. Text messages are going to have 98% open rates and anywhere from like 4 to 10% click-through rates. So your audience is going to be more concentrated, but it's going to be more engaged, which also means you need to send more high-value content. So great types of text marketing that I see from folks is especially around last minute high value opportunities to book. So that would be you get a cancellation. You have one listing left for a holiday. You launch a new property. You have a very high value offer. which we can talk about too. But different types of offers, not just price, also like included activities, included tickets, included benefits like early check-in, late checkout, all of those things you can use text messaging for. And as long as you are providing value, whether it's through content, promotions, or some other last minute opportunity, those folks will stay engaged and not unsubscribe. And if you, especially if you're in a drive-to market or a market where a lot of your travelers can do last minute travel, text is a really great way to fill those last minute occupancies because so many people can do a last minute trip to then fill your calendar without having to drop your prices more and more on the OTAs to get those last minute bookings.
Can you elaborate on the concept of creating compelling offers by bundling services or incentives to encourage guests to book directly?
Yeah, a lot of times I feel that people just go to price in terms of discounting, in terms of a offer or promotion to help drive conversion. We see short-term rental operators getting very creative about the types of offers that they are providing their guests. So some great examples I have seen is including tickets or uh, tickets or activities that are very popular in your area, especially because not everyone's going to redeem it. So if you're in a golfing location, including X rounds of golf, or if you are in a music area, including X tickets to X show, things like that can be a great way to drive conversion because you're offering something of value to guests outside of just price. The other thing to do is if you are able to do this on a consistent basis, is to offer direct bookers something like early check-in, late checkout, something like that. That's of value, but not just price related that you can only get through direct. Very similar to how a hotel loyalty program has certain perks for their members. Think about how you can offer some types of perks just to your direct bookers that would not be present through an OTA. And that way you're less reliant on just driving a price delta between OTA pricing and your own pricing.
Are there any emerging trends or high-value considerations, such as the widespread use of mobile devices for property access and communication, that a property manager should be aware of when formulating a direct booking strategy?
I would just say there's just trends around guest awareness around direct booking in general. And I would say to not ignore the power of billboarding on OTAs and the fact that more and more guests are getting savvy to the fact that they are going to look for your direct listing after they find your listing on an OTA. So you need to make that as easy as possible for potential bookers to discover, which means making sure the listing title on the OTA is the same as the listing title on your direct website. Photoshopping even your logo into screens in the listing on OTA photos, and subtly putting hints in your OTA listing about direct booking, or at least that the fact that you have your own brand and website can be very helpful. So I would just think of ways of how, if you were the average booker who was somewhat savvy with direct bookings, how they could come to your OTA listing and then easily find your direct booking listing by doing a Google search or even a ChatGPT search, which is something that you should also look into and see if ChatGPT is capable of matching your OTA listing to your direct booking listing if you ask it.
Arthur, thank you so much for sharing your insights and expertise on direct booking strategies and how StayFi is helping property managers. It's been incredibly valuable. To everyone watching, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.